Hey Star Trek fans, Dan Gunther here with a very late, deep analysis video of the new Star Trek Discovery trailer. I'm going to be taking a look at it kind of in depth, frame by frame, and maybe not quite frame by frame analysis, but shot by shot analysis, giving you my thoughts about what is in this trailer. So without further ado, let's take a look at it. Okay, so to start with, of course, we've got the shot of the desert here with Michelle Yeoh's character, Captain Georgiou, and Sonequa Martin Green's character, Commander Burnham, walking across this desert. Now, initially I thought this might be the planet Vulcan. However, I don't know, I'm leaning towards that not being the case, given a shot that we see later with multiple planets in the sky. Of course, Vulcan, as we know, has no moon.
Vulcan has no moon, Miss Uhura.
I'm not surprised, Mr. Spock.
Although, the motion picture, the non-director's cut version, we saw several moons. So who knows? Who knows what planet this could be. So, of course, 10 years before Kirk, Spock, and the Enterprise. Now, this, of course, means it's set 10 years before Star Trek, the original series. Some people were expressing a bit of confusion about that line. 10 years before TOS. So crossing this desert, they don't have a map.
We have no map.
There's some sort of big sandstorm or something going on in the background.
It's hard to imagine. You've served under me for 7 years.
Okay, so first revelation of the trailer, we find out that Burnham and Georgiou have been serving together, with Commander Burnham serving under Captain Georgiou for 7 years. So there's a history with these characters. They have history together. They've served for a while together. There's going to be that dynamic in their characters in the show.
Commander Burnham, I think it is time we talked about you having your own command.
And of course, the surprise for Commander Burnham here is that Captain Georgiou thinks it's time for her to have her own command. Now, based on details that have leaked about not leaked, but details that have been made public about the show, we know that this probably isn't exactly going to come to pass right away, because, we have Captain Georgiou of the Shinjo here, and later on we will have Captain Lorca of the USS Discovery, the titular ship of the show. And of course, he will be played by Jason Isaacs. So interesting. Will be interesting to see how that story plays out.
To transport.
Now, wanting role play equipment and stuff, I want this prop. Classic flip communicator, like TOS, like kind of larger a little bit, almost like we see in The Cage. Again, it's not exactly the same. They've taken a few liberties here, but still very familiar looking, that flip communicator. And now we got our first shot of a ship. We find out, of course, that this is the USS Shinjo. Right off the bat, I want to make clear here, this is not the Discovery. This is not the main series ship. It is the Shinjo. It's Captain Georgiou's ship, and the ship that, from this trailer, it seems that Commander Burnham serves as first officer aboard. Now, if you look at the details of this ship, there's some really cool stuff. The deflector dish on the front of the ship really is reminiscent of the Enterprise era starship deflectors, and specifically, if you look, there are two prongs on the front, just like on the Columbia, Captain Erica Hernandez's ship from season 4 of Enterprise. So some nice little design details that are really cool. I really like this transporter effect, kind of reminiscent of the original series transporter. It's got that same kind of shimmery gold color, but it's also got this kind of grid overlay that's definitely different. We've not quite seen that with transporter effects. And of course, these kind of pillars of light materializing around them, kind of like the transporter effect from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. So, some interesting melds of effects there, and I think it looks pretty cool. Now we get a shot of the Shinjo at warp, And, it's kind of this warped, distorted space, not the traditional streaking stars that we see in the later Star Trek series, but, a kind of more different visual look here. And if you look right at the beginning of this shot, you can see those two prongs on the deflector dish there, just like the Columbia's. And we'll find out with this next shot, if you look at this shot in conjunction with a shot that's later, you'll notice that the bridge is on the bottom of the saucer section of the Shinjo, which is interesting. Definitely a different than what we've seen before. So you've got this big expansive window, and we zoom in on Commander Burnham. Here we get our first real look at the Starfleet uniform. And again, this is kind of the word that's been, the term that's been thrown about is kind of a soft visual reboot of the Star Trek universe. So, it takes place in the Prime universe. It follows that continuity story-wise and character-wise and that sort of thing. But they've updated the look of the ship and things like that. I'm a longtime Star Trek fan. Of course, I have a few mixed feelings about that. But there is no way in 2017 that they are going to produce a show that has the design aesthetics of 1960s television. It's not going to happen. So, we get this soft visual reboot. We get different uniforms, a different look to the bridge, but it's still very recognizably Star Trek. You've still got that circular bridge with the helm and navigation stations, I'm assuming, up front, and, that Starfleet look. Now, the uniforms we get are interesting. The division colors seem to be gold for command, kind of a silver blue we'll see later for science and presumably medical, and then kind of a bronze color for operations, presumably security and engineering and that sort of thing.
Often such leaders will need a profound cause for their followers to rally around.
So in this next part, we get Sarek, played by James Frain. And so this is really interesting because we discover that later in the trailer, we discover that he has a close relationship with Commander Burnham somehow. We'll talk about that when we get there. But interestingly, we've got Sarek talking through a hologram. Not something we've seen often in Star Trek. We've seen it in Deep Space Nine. They had the holo communicator briefly for 2 episodes before they got rid of that idea. But not something that we tend to see in Star Trek. Okay, so here's kind of an overall shot of the bridge. And we really see those department colors here. We've got in the background here, this alien character. That is the character played by Doug Jones, and you can see he's kind of got the silver color there. We've got Michelle Yeoh as Captain Georgiou in the center seat, wearing gold. And then this kind of bronze-colored helmsman up here. I'm wondering if that's Sam Vartholomeos. He's playing the helmsman there, possibly. So we get some shots here of Shinjo Crewman. Now this one here, let's use this as an example. We've got a bit more of a close-up on a Starfleet uniform here. So this is the bronze-colored one, it looks like. And operations, if you'll look on his insignia, you see a little operations symbol like the TOS. So the insignia have the star for command, the little sciences symbol, and the little operations symbol, just like in TOS. Now this guy looks like, I'm not sure if he's human with some sort of augmented technology or an alien race that uses some sort of computer augmentation or something like that, but definitely a different look here. Maybe kind of Boolean colored, not a Boolean though, he doesn't have the ridge down the middle, or maybe a reimagined Boolean or something like that. Almost looks like he fell asleep on some bubble wrap or something like that. But, definitely a different looking alien we've not seen before.
What am I looking at?
And then we've got a close shot here of Captain Georgiou along with Commander Burnham in the background there. Now here, this gives us another chance to take another close look at the uniforms. It looks like the captain's uniform also has some extra piping on the shoulders up here. And if you look at her insignia, so it's got the command star on it, and it's also got 4 little marks or pips on it there, and presumably that's denoting the rank. This is the one part of the uniform that I have a little trouble with myself, it's it seems like it'd be really hard to tell what someone's rank is from any kind of distance. I mean, it's not until we're this close up that I can tell that those pips are even on there. So it seems like an odd way to denote rank. But if you also look on the flanking sides of the uniform down here, the gold material is actually little tiny Starfleet deltas, just like the kind of the Kelvin timeline uniforms of the first two Kelvin timeline films. So yeah, interesting design choice there. I think the cosplayers, a lot of people have commented that the cosplayers will be very upset by that, because that's going to be really hard to replicate in a homemade way if you want to cosplay in a Discovery uniform.
Object of unknown origin.
Okay, so I really like this view screen. It's got, kind of computer overlays and that sort of thing. Again, I think this is the kind of thing that if they'd have had the budget to do in the 60s, it would have looked something like this. But, it's the design aesthetic for 2017. It's not going to look like TOS. There's definitely some nods there, though. The lights on the bottom of the screen right over there, they kind of, pulse like the view screens in Star Trek do. And if you look, just little tiny design details on the back of the helmsman's chair there, you've got the little Starfleet insignia as well.
Come all this way, Captain. It would be irresponsible to leave whatever that is unknown.
So we've got a shot here of Commander Burnham in a really advanced looking spacesuit, not quite like we've seen before. She's got like little heads up displays going on there. Really interesting design aesthetics. A lot of stuff they've had to do from the ground up here. It looks very visually impressive. So we've got, again, Sarek communicating with Commander Burnham via a hologram. Now, if you look at that case in the background, it's got a little Starfleet logo on it, and that one that's a Starfleet Command logo we've seen in latter Trek series. So, tying it again to that Prime universe. Another very visually stunning shot. We've got Commander Burnham in that spacesuit, presumably standing on the hull of the Shinjo, about to venture out here. It looks like a binary system with a 1 star pulling matter off of that second star. Just very, very gorgeous visual effects here.
Federation space.
Computer.
Okay, I want to stop on this shot here as well. We get some very interesting hull details for the USS Shinjo. So if we look here, it looks like the registry number might be NCC 1227.
Enable igniter.
So we get a shot here of Commander Burnham standing on presumably an asteroid or some body like that. And there's this ship appearing from behind the asteroid. I'm wondering if this is that Klingon sarcophagus ship. It kind of looks like it has some elements of those concept drawings that leaked a while ago. And we get an interior shot here. And this is very obviously, again, looking like those preliminary designs we saw. And it's very obviously the set that was under construction, most featured in the production trailer that came out some time ago. This object is really interesting. It's like a Klingon sarcophagus or something like that, lending credibility to that. So we know one of the big things of this trailer is a lot of people don't like the look of the Klingons, with no hair and very alien looking. If you look at this sarcophagus, though, it looks like that Klingon does have hair. So what's the explanation for the way these Klingons look? I mean, I think we're going to get that explanation in the show. I don't think that it's just something that's not going to be addressed. So here we go, our first look at the Klingons that a lot of people are upset about. Again, yes, they look different, but the Klingons have undergone so many changes in looks over the years. And these actually look an awful lot like the concept for the new Klingons in Star Trek The Motion Picture. And I mean, of course, that was the biggest, most drastic design change. So, this has been done before. But these Klingons don't look as bad, actually, as I feared they would when we saw that leaked photo from way back when. I think these Klingons don't look bad at all. Definitely a departure, definitely tweaking their look, but not as drastically as I thought they would. And yeah, they have no hair, they have no facial hair, they do look more pronounced, but I think that's going to be a story element. I could be wrong about this, but I feel like that's something that's going to be explained in the show.
Captain?
So I really like the looks of the display here. So the kind of LCARs, not really LCARs, but you know, the look of the computers of this time, the incoming warp signatures, the Klingon logo, which they've kept the same. And also, if you look at the constellation there, that's a constellation that's visible from Earth. I don't know, perspective-wise, they'd have to be pretty close to Earth, I'd imagine, for it to look like that. So, Captain Giorgio, we've engaged the Klingons. Very obviously, conflict with the Klingons is going to play a big role in this pilot episode, at least. And here we go, Chris Obi as T'Kuvma, our first real look at him. Like I said, I don't really mind the look of the Klingons. I don't think they're that bad. But I do have to say, I really loved the picture that somebody had put out of this Klingon T'Kuvma next to a Ferrero Rocher. I'll put that up, but I don't know. I had to laugh on that. I thought that was pretty funny. So this is actually a shot of the underside of the Shinjo. As you can see, there's the bridge, and it's on the bottom of the Shinjo. I'll flip the image. You can take a look at that. And this looks like Sarek talking to a young Michael Burnham, possibly on Vulcan. Very interesting. You will never learn Vulcan. Your tongue is too human. I'm wondering if, as I mentioned in the other video, maybe Burnham was born or raised on Vulcan. Something like that could be. It's really interesting they're tying those two characters together. I wasn't expecting that. This shot, I really don't know what to make of. I don't know if it's some sort of medical chamber or decontamination. I'm not sure what's going on here. This is the one shot that I have kind of the most questions about. But hopefully we'll find out what this means.
I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to save...
Okay, we got a shot of the corridor. Again, more visually updated, more interesting angles going on, but not that big a departure from what we've gotten in Star Trek before. And it looks like some uniform variants as well. So interesting stuff.
all of you.
So here we get some sort of attack or visual assault. Not sure what's going on, but everyone looks to be in a lot of pain. There's a lot of bright light. So this is that shot I was telling you about before that makes me think that this is not Vulcan. I mean, there's another planet, a bunch of planets in the sky again. This is something continuity-wise they've played around with, though, before, so who knows? It could still be Vulcan. My money's on some other planet, though. And here we get the Klingons yelling. This is very reminiscent of how the Klingons warn the afterlife that there's a warrior coming. We've seen Worf do this before when Jadzia died, when Gowron died. It's the Klingon death howl is what this looks like to me.
Its neck, cut off its head.
So earlier in the trailer, we saw Commander Burnham kind of acting in a very Vulcan manner, you know. To me anyway. She almost seemed to have kind of a Vulcan poise about her. Here it seems she's very scared about something. She's very advocating kind of a first strike, maybe something like that. I'm not sure what's going on, but definitely something has changed, and she is very frightened. Interesting looking alien here. Very quick shot. Not sure what this is. There's interesting makeup effects though, for sure. And then this shot here, I initially thought was maybe a robot of some kind, but if you look, it almost seems to be like a helmet that's being worn by someone. You can see some skin maybe under the helmet there. And if you notice on the side, it says USS Shinjo there. So there you go. USS Shinjo, not the Discovery. Not sure what this is. I'm really curious to find out though.
Starfleet doesn't fire first.
And this was the line that I liked the best in the trailer was Captain Giorgio saying Starfleet doesn't fire first. Very much underpinning that Star Trek philosophy of non-aggression and exploring and, not being an aggressor. And another shot of the computer systems here, photon torpedo target locked. So, I really like the visual style of the computers and the heads-up displays and the visuals. Very cool. I really dig the look.
My people were biologically determined for one purpose alone, to sense the coming of death.
Now, this is an odd thing. This is Lieutenant Saru, Doug Jones' character. My people were biologically determined for one thing, to sense the coming of death. It's kind of an odd line. I don't know what that would mean. My guess is maybe that he comes from a prey species and they're very attuned to threats, maybe, or something like that. Or maybe it literally does mean what he said, that they can sense death coming, which seems odd to me, but I'm definitely curious to learn more.
I sense it coming now.
And then we close on, again, it appears that they're on this asteroid. It's Commander Burnham in her spacesuit facing off against a Klingon in a spacesuit as well. If you take a look at this shot here, so it looks like he's wearing some sort of spacesuit and he's wielding what could be a bat'leth of some kind. It's hard to see, but it definitely seems to be a bat'leth of some sort. Not exactly the ones we're used to, but definitely, you know, a bladed weapon that you hold like that for sure. And of course, swiping right at the camera and closing on Star Trek Discovery with a great piece of music at the end. So as far as what all of this means, hopefully it means that we're in for an exciting show. It looks like there's some really interesting story elements going on. I know a lot of people are concerned about the visual look of it and how it deviates from the classic Star Trek. And again, I say this as a huge fan of the classic Star Trek. I love TOS. I watched it as a kid, and I will continue to watch it because I really love those shows. But, you know, there's really no way to do that style in 2017 and have it be a credible television show that, you know, the mass audiences are going to support and like. So, you know, there's going to be some updating of the look and the style, and I'm okay with that. You know, it's a new show. It's a new look for Star Trek. I think William Shatner, not someone that I've agreed with a lot lately, but he said something really great, which was basically, you know, if they don't follow the story and they don't create good stories like Star Trek did, well, yeah, then you can get mad at them. But they're, you know, doing a prequel to a show that's 50 years old, it's going to look different. And that's okay. You know, that's not the stuff that matters. The stuff that matters is the story, the heart, the message. And based on what I've heard so far and know so far about Star Trek Discovery, I really think they're continuing that message of Star Trek and the good stories, I hope, anyway. We'll know when we see the first episode, you know, and I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you are all too. We can disagree about a lot of stuff about the show, but until we've actually seen an episode, I can't judge whether it's going to be good or bad. Based on what I've seen, I'm excited and I really want to see more, and it looks good to me. So, I don't know. Sound off in the comments how much you disagree with me or not. If you agree with me, please comment too. I love those comments. But in any case, like this video if you liked it, subscribe for more Star Trek news and reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. All of those links are in the description below. I'll see you in the next video.